Staring at the world through my rearview.
50 Cent, the hardest motherfucker on the streets. A lot of niggas found that out the hard way. And a lot more were about to.
The other day I decided to go back and spin up some 50 Cent Bulletproof, because I haven't touched it since it released way back in 2005. At the time I was 13 years old and a huge fan of the Shady Aftermath and G-Unit Records crew. I grew up listening to hip hop, and one of the first music albums I ever really got into was the Marshall Mathers LP in 2nd grade. Though I eventually expanded my horizons and got into many different eras, styles, and subgenres of hip hop from all over the world, as well as different types of music altogether. In 2005, I was definitely on the hype train when it came to M, 50, Dre, and each of their music journeys. Aside from video games, animation, and cinema, I saw hip-hop as the comic books of my era. When you think about it, there's a lot of similarities with musicians and comic book characters, especially in the realm of hip-hop, where the variety of artists and crews with interconnected backstories and rivalries can sort of be compared to the depth that the DC or Marvel universe has with its heroes and villains. Each artist and crew has their own unique lore that would often be told across the chapters of the albums. While there was a lot of hyperbole and creative storytelling, some of these stories we'd come to know had plenty truth to them, or at least vividly painted the environments around these artists. A lot of them really came from some of the worst circumstances and were still able to find success in music. When you add on the fact that hip-hop is super competitive and has had an element of battling since the genesis of the art form, I'm sure you can dig what I'm saying with this analogy.
I can switch up. One time, brother, fill the mixture. I'ma come over here and rip down this nigga's picture. Yeah, for a fact, brother like this. Grab the microphone, yo, and you start to get this. Now, let me take my hood off. You got the nerve. You're not a freestyle MC. Now you're getting served. I'm superb. One time, yo, I'm slipping. Juice, you ain't shit, and your name I'm ripping.
While you had head-to-head freestyle battles, you also had battles on wax, which would often take things to the next level. In some cases, rap beef grew to be more than just competition. There was always an element of heightened drama in hip-hop that I find to be unrivaled in the music world. This is all to say that as a young kid growing up, I viewed a lot of these rappers the same way I viewed comic book heroes and villains. As kids, we would often idolize these artists in their own ways, and they would inspire us to push forward into achieving our dreams, while also maintaining a public persona that was larger than life. Back then, all you typically had to go off of was the way these artists presented themselves on the mic and how they appeared in music videos, interviews, or sometimes movies. That is, until rappers started making appearances in video games. Def Jam Vendetta was my first foray into the shampoo that is hip-hop and video games. I thought it was dope to control these rappers while they mercilessly beat the shit out of other rappers, and some goofy-ass side characters.
I don't know what to make of that.
I don't like that shit.
For sure, bro.
I don't like that shit.
DMX was definitely the champ in that game with the best blazing move, but I mean, how dope was it to have Luda, see Meth and Red team up, or even C-Walk into a Falcon Punch as Dub C.
Falcon Punch!
While the roster was strictly limited to the small pool of Def Jam artists, I definitely wanted to see more hip-hop collaborations within the video game medium. While I appreciated more games using vocal talent and music from the hip-hop realm, I definitely wanted more actual games based on or influenced by artists. Fresh off of the GTA San Andreas high, I was eager to get my hands on John Singleton's Fear and Respect, which was supposed to be his first video game that starred Snoop Dogg as a gangbanger named Goldie in South Central LA, but was eventually cancelled. Though I totally missed Def Jam Fight for NY and Mark Echo's Getting Up, which starred Talib Kweli, I was all in when it came to 50 Cent Bulletproof. So I remember having a bunch of fun with the game, especially as I was able to rock with the soundtrack the whole way. I mean, before this game came out, I had a boombox, and on it I would play Get Rich or Die Trying and Beg for Mercy, among other albums, while simultaneously mashing the controller in games like Devil May Cry. There's definitely a nostalgia factor with it all, but I still bump some of these tracks when they come on. Rolling with the G-Unit crew and blasting away enemies while each song becomes a battle anthem was badass. It's cool that everyone lent their voice work and likeness to the characters, including Eminem and Dr. Dre. Also props to Phil Lamar and John DiMaggio for lending their talents to the VO also. If you don't know them by name, I can practically guarantee you've already heard them somewhere.
Well, alright.
The story of Bulletproof is whatever. Your homie K-Dog gets set up and you try to go save him while you end up shooting it out with a special operations outfit. You end up getting shot 9 times and being left for dead, but your crew is able to take you to a nearby hood doctor. You end up trying to get to the bottom of who's behind everything and uncover some whole secret international drug trade shit. It's serviceable on the most basic level, but it's really there to just set the stage for all the big names to come together. M plays a corrupt detective that sells you information.
Well, look who it is. For a while there, I thought I lost my best customer.
While Dre plays a Gulf War vet that sells weapons to you.
Straight up old school army gun right here. It was good in the Gulf and it's good on the streets.
And DJ Woo Kid is even there to sell you music and music videos out of his trunk.
There ain't nothing whack here, yo.
There's an arcade mode that lets you control any of the major characters on any of the levels you've already played through, each character having their own designated choices for weapon loadouts. And while it's cool that they did all that, the replay value wears off quick due to the lack of voice acting in this mode, which diminishes the character presence. This gets weighed down further along with the bullshit enemy spawns, limited enemy types, terrible AI, and abhorrent aiming system. These are the key major flaws that prevent the game from being enjoyable past the initial novelty of the whole thing. Back then, it didn't feel so egregious because a lot of games were like that in the PS2 era. I guarantee if you go back to some of your favorite games, you're going to be completely disappointed with how they control. And with the hindsight of almost 20 years in video game innovation and standards, it's easy to see why this isn't that great to revisit unless you're purely going for the nostalgia. So while I'm gonna shit on some of the mechanics here, I still appreciate the game for what it did, the fun I had with it back then, and how it continues to serve as an interesting example of a celebrity-focused game. First of all, the game controls like a complete fucking mess. This is almost entirely down to the camera movement and aim acceleration specifically. You're constantly fighting the acceleration, which makes you fly past your targets no matter how much you try to fine-tune the sensitivity and aim carefully. Combine this with a complete clusterfuck of an AI that has enemies running around non-stop in unpredictable and nonsensical directions, and suddenly you're stuck with the accuracy of a damn stormtrooper. In most cases, the spawn system has enemies appear out of thin air endlessly, even from areas you've cleared. Combine that with a very limited FOV and no real hit detection system, and you're constantly playing a game of
Who shot you?
The enemies get stale fast, as there are essentially only 2 types, with some light weapon variation, and they all comically pop into ragdolls when killed. You can dodge with triangle and reload with square, but these 2 buttons are also used to dual wield or swap weapons that are on the floor from fallen enemies. This means you're going to unintentionally swap weapons or switch up your akimbo loadouts more times than you can count. You can grab human shields or perform cool takedown moves, but honestly it's pretty hard to pull off consistently while the enemies run away from you in these unpredictable directions while simultaneously decorating your face with bullets. There are a number of these cool takedowns to unlock though, and when you can pull them off, you really feel like Curtis John Wick Jackson. Though there are decent options for cover and a cool system that lets you grab and move dumpsters while shooting, it's all just too static for the way the enemies run circles around you and the crew. It feels like you can effectively use cover for about 5 seconds or less in most situations. There are definitely other design elements that bring down the game, but I can't really blame the developers too much for these other things, because there's a lot of typical stuff that just didn't become polished or standardized in games until later years. Objectives can be a little hard to follow, and even when you know what you're looking for, the level design language and limited environmental assets can have you running around in circles till you find what you're looking for. Your phone also gets blown up with these mission updates and messages that have you pausing the game to check, which completely disrupts the momentum of gameplay and music. The flow of the soundtrack can also get pretty annoying when the song resets with every loading screen, and more so when you experience a bug that constantly resets the playlist to the top with every continue. I could go on, but really it ain't all that bad once you get past the lack of enemy AI and dog shit aiming. Honestly, even if the aiming alone was fixed, I'd have a much better time revisiting the game. Fix the AI on top of that, and the game would actually still be fun on some level today.
After all the bullshit, I was finally getting somewhere.
So the gameplay is mediocre by today's standards, but the charm is definitely there. While I was having this trip down memory lane, something dawned on me while I was exploring inside of 50's crib. To my knowledge, this is one of the first examples of fourth wall breaking cross-media marketing within a game. And by that, I mean the game itself being an extension of other mediums and products. Of course, it must be said that groundwork had already been laid by Wu-Tang Clan and their Shaolin style game on PS1, which similarly features their crew, the music, and info about the individual artists and what albums they have as well. Also, many games at this point were already made as tie-ins to movies, but to my knowledge, not much had been done in this way for music artists. And I feel like Bulletproof raised the bar in terms of this cross-media promotion.
Check this out. Plug in, son, get connected.
For instance, if we go watch TV in 50's house, we are treated to a list of special features, which includes 2 trailers for his movie, 4 ads for his Formula 50 vitamin water, and a couple of behind-the-scenes videos and interview clips with Tony Yayo. Not only that, but you can find the albums featured in the game within the world, as well as vitamin water. And actually, purchasing vitamin water from the dock gives you a permanent health upgrade. That's all on top of the customizable background music playlist that features these albums with the G-Unit crew. I mean, even when you boot up the game, the intro movie hardly shows the game or its story, and instead is just kinda setting up the whole vibe with the showcase of 50 himself, as one of the featured songs from the soundtrack plays. Clips of his various music videos are interlaced with clips from the initial trailer of the game, with maybe about 3 seconds of actual gameplay or in-game footage in total. When you look at the game as simply one piece of the 50 Cent legacy, it comes across as a bold move and well-executed tie-in to the 50 franchise. It's basically pimping itself out to show off the whole music catalog, music videos, clothing line, movie, and the vitamin water. All while still being competent enough as a game, within the context of 2005 that is. As much as I started this project wanting to talk about my experience with the game and what it's like going back to now, the whole realization of the game just being an extension of the 50 business model kind of blew my mind.
Is money the only thing that matters to you?
That's pretty funny coming from a guy who calls himself 50 Cent.
Going back to Bulletproof all these years later sort of lit a fire for me in wanting to explore more hip-hop crossovers in the gaming space. I definitely want to analyze games that pull notable collaborations directly from hip-hop culture like the Def Jam fighting games, Bulletproof, and Getting Up, but I also want to revisit and uncover other titles that draw from hip-hop in other ways. While I absolutely loved when games were infused with some level of hip-hop, whatever it was, some of the deeper collaborations went over my head as a kid. For instance, I'm definitely a fan of the Freestyle Champ and Ill MC Supernatural, and love the legacy left within hip-hop from the impact that Stretch and Bobbito had. But I only realized that Bobbito voices the announcer in NBA Street 2 and 3.
To the hole with the butter! I gotta close my eyes!
And Supernatural had a full-on song that introed the NBA Ballers game. I completely forgot about that.
AI crosses you so fast you thought you would sleep with the speed of Supernatural when he's spitting on beats.
I probably should have figured that out myself.
Though I'm not really into sports games, I definitely played the shit out of NBA Street, NBA Ballers, and even NFL Street. Honestly, that hip-hop element and street flair is what really tied those together for me. On the other hand, there are titles featuring collabs from other artists that I vibe with that I've yet to explore. I've barely played Freedom Finger, for instance, which features production by ASUS ROG among others, including the dope track Drums on the Wheel by Ace.
And I play drums on the wheel with a feeling out of touch or outgunned in the field. Drums on the wheel.
There are also deeper cuts like B-Boy from 2006, Floor Kids from 2017, and I'm sure a bunch more. On a quick side note, I decided to play B-Boy while working on the script for this video, and it is seriously a dope rhythm game with a good soundtrack. It's not your typical rhythm game, as it is much more free-form and has more to do with stringing your own combos and movesets together while remaining on beat. It really does a good job at capturing the essence of breakdancing, even featuring real-life legends. That's all I really wanted to talk about today. I had the itch to return to Bulletproof and see if it was really as fun as I remembered. Unfortunately, the gameplay didn't hold up at all, but the steez was as present as ever. This is the type of thing that truly encapsulates a moment of time. I definitely respect the game for what it was and give props to 50 and the G-Unit crew for going all in on this video game back then, when the idea of such a heavy, singular collaboration hadn't really been done since Wu-Tang Shaolin style. I can't knock the hustle when it comes to the self-promotion either. So what's next? I'm definitely going to give the follow-up, Blood on the Sand, a try at some point, because I never played it and I heard it's a huge improvement and decent enough in terms of gameplay for the time. I'm also going to revisit and dive into these other games that I mentioned eventually, and maybe make a video or two if I have enough to say. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you listening to me talk about this relic of a bygone era. And I hope you can help me out by liking the video if you enjoyed it and sharing it with anyone else you think might get a kick out of it. I make other videos similar to this, including reviews and previews of games and tech. I also live stream on occasion through my separate YouTube channel and Twitch. Feel free to check the channel and all the links in the description if you dig the content. I have other planned videos in the works, though some of this stuff takes me a while to cook up. This is Ars Poetic, dropping the mic. Peace.
Feel this.
America got a thing for this gangsta shit. They love me. Black Chuckers, Black Scully, London Pele Pele. I take spit over rainbow shit. I'm a vandal, got that silver duct tape on my tray handle. The women in my life bring confusion and shit. So like Nino and New Jack, I'll cancel that bitch. Look at me. This is the life I chose. Niggas around me so cold. Man, my heart done froze. I build an empire on a load of knocks. Don't know I'm the weatherman. I take that cocoa leaf and make that snow. Sit back, watch it turn the dough. Watch it go out the door. O after O, you know. Homie, I'm just triple beam dreaming. Niggas be scheming. I finna live the good life. The fiends are just fiending. Conceal my weapon nice and neat so you can't see. The penitentiary is definitely out the question for me. I want to find the things in my life. So I hustle. Nigga, you get in my way while I'm trying to get mine. And I'll buck you. I don't care who you run with or where you from. Nigga, fuck you. Now that's gangsta.